235. Let's get to the Pet Sematary remake from 2019. It is directed by Kevin Kolch and Dennis Weidmeyer. It stars Jason Clarke, Amy Seimetz, John Lithgow, Hetty Lawrence. Sorry if I butchered any of these names, I apologize. And the synopsis is Dr. Lewis Creed and his wife Rachel relocate from Boston to rural Maine with their 2 young children. The couple soon discover a mysterious burial ground hidden deep in the woods near their new home. Well, I think we may have covered this movie at some point on the show. I'm not really sure, but I've been on a big Stephen King book kick recently, and I bought like 10 of his books, and I've been burning through a lot of them, both in the paper version and the audiobook. I, like millions and millions of people, I love Stephen King, always have. I will always be up for more adaptations of his works in movies and television. They just naturally lend themselves to that. I've seen this one 3 times, I think, maybe 4, and I just read the book for the first time in its entirety a couple of months ago. And the book is great. If you haven't read it, I would highly recommend it. The first adaptation, of course, came out in 1989, and I actually saw that one after I saw this one. Anyways, back on track here. From what I remember, it got so-so reviews. Some people defended it more, others really trashed it. And I think that people who really loved the first one really crapped on this one a lot and just said it was an unnecessary remake and the changes weren't good, this, that, and the other. And just in case, spoilers here, big spoilers. Having not seen the first one, the death of the daughter was very effective. And I know that Stephen King has come out and said that of all the books that he's written, this is one of, if not the most, that he finds the scariest himself. Mainly because, from what I read, the death of the daughter could happen to, theoretically, to anyone. It's not like It, or, Pennywise and It, or a vampire in Salem's Lot coming out and scaring people or terrorizing people. It's, here, my daughter ran into the street to do something or to get her toy, to get her pet, and a truck came by and hit her and killed her. Which is so true in terms of the fear. Like, that could happen to anyone at any time. It's just a freak accident. One day they're there, and then one day they're not. And everything before that was totally fine. And then it's a whole new life the next day, which, God forbid, that happens to anyone in real life. So I think that really hits emotionally. I could kind of tell where things were going. They don't really hide the fact that something bad is going to happen with all the trucks whizzing by the property. Having gone back and watched the original after, I still think that works, but maybe hot take here, I don't think the first one is that great. Star rating wise, these two are about the same. So that middle point, which I'm glad that they spend a good amount of time building the world before getting to that. Even though, one, I'll get into criticisms here, the script is fairly flat when it comes to character relationships in that family. Like, I really don't know that much about them at all. I think the whole cast is good and they definitely elevate it somewhat, but I wish they could have fleshed them out more with, more particular identities and more complexity. The Pet Sematary itself, design-wise, great. I think all of the dream sequences, the nightmare sequences with Jason Clarke look great. And overall, it's shot well. I have no problems with the direction. I think it's put together pretty decently. What is frustrating, though, is the marketing really was misleading as to certain things having a bigger part in the story when in actuality they didn't. The funeral procession by the kids, the stranger kids in the woods who have the masks, and they're pushing this wheelbarrow with at least one dead pet to the cemetery. That had, from what I remember, had a big part in the trailers. It's one of the main designs for the posters. Like, I mean, you see it, I think, once, maybe twice, and it's for a few seconds, and there's so little weight to any of that. It's just for the flash, the shock value of that to lure you in. And I don't fault the filmmakers for that inherently. Marketing is marketing. That's just how it's going to be. But I was definitely let down by that. I like the look of the house and that location overall, the look of the woods. The score is very good. And more than anything, I can't believe it took me this long to get to this. The cat in this, which is, a real cat, amazing. Like, it sounds so silly to say that, but perfect cat for this movie. Like, there's nothing better than a creepy cat in a horror movie, especially a Stephen King horror movie. The look of the cat in terms of the colors, the fur, the eyes. I don't know exactly what was possibly manipulated with effects, but the choreography with that cat, where they place it, the direction, and how they shoot it, in some ways makes the movie what it is. Like, that cat has to be creepy, scary, mysterious, unpredictable, and it's all those things. So kudos to them. I don't know how long it took them to find that particular cat, but it's great. Talking about the second half of the movie, that would be by far my least favorite, because when the daughter is killed, which immediately makes the movie be injected into grief and depression and loss and all that, once the daughter is resurrected, it pretty much just becomes a run-of-the-mill slasher. There's so little creativity with the attacks, the kills, even in terms of the supernatural logic of it all. It just feels kind of lazy and not that interesting, predictable at times. Some other scenes, the sequence towards the beginning when Jason Clarke is at the school and there's that student, I think, who was hit by a truck or something, and there's that brain injury, and the gore, the makeup is very good. The undead family epilogue scene at the end when the boy is in the car and then the cat gets on top of the car and the family's staring at him. And there might be times where it tries a little too hard to be scary, or maybe relies too much on jump scares, but I think there's still a good atmosphere there that's consistent. I'm always on edge, I'm unsettled, I'm curious. Also, John Lithgow, great in the movie. I mean, he's one of those actors who, he's been around for so long and he can really do and has done everything. Like, he can just pop up in any genre. He can be funny, scary, dramatic, you name it. He just has that very malleable nature to his style of performance, and just the look of him as well. I love when the daughter meets him in the beginning, and you immediately, at least I did, I felt like a sense of comfort with him and kindness. I wish he didn't die at the end either. So overall, I do see myself going back to this fairly, not super often, but I think it's worth a watch. There's got to be a great Pet Sematary adaptation out there one day. The quality of the book definitely has that in there, has that potential. Maybe we'll get that, I don't know, but I'll make do with what we have. So that one is a heavy 3.5 out of 5.